Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today and making TeacherCast your home for professional development. Welcome to the first of several episodes focusing around ISTE 2018. We just got back from the fantastic conference out in Chicago, 20,000 educators all getting together to support each other and do amazing things in the world of education. We had some great opportunities to meet people out there and do some presentations. We got a chance to present with our good MIE friends Tammy Dunbar and Richard Snyder, and I had the privilege of doing a session on how to create a podcast for your classroom with this year's keynoter, Michael, the Tech Rabbi Cohen. Absolutely fantastic. We had other great opportunities to meet with people. We did an hour-long presentation at the WeVideo booth with our friends Dr. Nate Lang and the WeVideo team. Also had a chance to sit down with the belle of the ball this year, Flipgrid. We had a chance to do a 20-minute interview with Joey from Flipgrid. It's been all over the internet so far in video form. I'm going to be releasing it in a couple of days here in audio form on the iTunes feed. So look for that soon. Of course, we also talked to our friends over at Power School, and we just had a great time. So lots of things going on. If you went to ISTE, we would love to hear from you. We're looking also at putting together a post-ISTE podcast featuring you. So if you guys want to come on the show and talk a little bit about what it was, what did you do, what did you think, let us know. You can leave me an email over at feedback@teachercast.net or leave a voice message over at teachercast.net/voicemail. We would love to hear from you. It was a fantastic show. Today's podcast is going to feature Mr. Creativity himself, Mr. Innovation, John Kao. Now, you might recognize the name John Kao. He, of course, was a star of one of the recent episodes of the Colbert Report. Well, maybe not a recent episode of the Colbert Report, but you got to check out his video. I'll make sure it's linked over here in our show notes. But John and I met a couple years ago in Seattle for one of the Microsoft Hack the Classroom events. A great guy, and I love catching up with him. This year was a little bit different. He brought his son Desi, and we had a chance to sit down with both John and Desi and learn a little bit about not just about what the status of creativity and innovation is in today's classrooms, but also what does ISTE look like from the point of view of an 8th grader. Something you never thought of, right? You go to these big conferences and say, from a teacher's point of view, what do you think? But Desi had an opportunity today to sit down with us and really give his point of view about what he thinks, and you got to check it out. It's about 10, 11 minutes or so into the podcast interview. Great stuff. So hopefully you guys have a chance to sit down and process everything that's been going on over the last couple days here with ISTE. You can, of course, check out the ISTE18 hashtag, and also I highly recommend checking at the hashtag #NotAtISTE18. And we want to give a big shout out to our friends at the Not at ISTE channel, and also our very good friend Peggy George for keeping up with all the great stuff and putting it together so that way you have it. Again, this is the first of several great ISTE18 podcasts. And without further ado, here's our interview with John and Desi Kao. We're here live on the ISTE floor in Chicago, Illinois. I am here with John Kao. John, how are you today?
Doing just great, thanks.
It is so good to see you again. It's nice to have you back on the show. How have you been?
I've been very well, thanks. And I'm appreciative of the opportunity to chat with you. This is like our reunion tour here.
It is a reunion tour. Now, we're sitting here. You said this is your first ISTE event.
Indeed.
What are you finding?
Well, I'm finding a lot of heat. I'm wondering if I'm finding a lot of light. There is a lot of activity. I mean, I'm actually surprised at the volume of activity here. I think the word innovation is everywhere to be seen. I'm still trying to address in my own mind how much of what I'm seeing is really about innovation.
Well, let's kind of start right there, because we've talked about this in the past. And for those who don't know, John here has been dubbed Mr. Innovation. What does innovation look like in 2018?
I think innovation is moving from, I like to say, getting it to getting it done as big organizational and industry agendas. So just broadly speaking, whether it's in government, whether it's in the private sector, in the large corporations, or in the startup world, I think people these days understand whatever their frame of reference, that innovation is important, by which I mean the ability to generate new ideas that have value, and that can be implemented in sort of a timely and relevant way.
So is innovation the art of doing or the art of thinking, or a combination?
Well, it's a combination of the two. Obviously, if you do and don't think, that's probably as problematic as the reverse. But I think what I'm referring to by the notion of moving from getting it to getting it done is that while I think the light bulb has gone on for most, if you're a leader of a country, you have to be thinking about your competitiveness in the global landscape. If you're a leader in a corporate environment, you have to be thinking about how innovation remakes your value proposition. If you're an educator, you really have to be thinking about how to reinvent the process of education to fit with the realities of 2018. But that doesn't mean that you know anything about how to do it. And the how of innovation is something, as you know, that I've been immersed in for the last 30-some years.
Well, let's dive into that. When you say the way things are being done in 2018, what are you seeing out there? What are teachers doing that maybe needs a little bit more innovation?
Well, I think that education, for both good and for worrisome reasons, is quite refractory to change, resistant to change. And I mean change not just in terms of blips of, we're going to try some new curriculum or some new device, but sustainable change. I guess we could call it transformation as opposed to change. And so what I see are these titanic forces that are arrayed on both sides of the aisle. On the one hand, the desire for progress and for transformation. On the other hand, a reluctance to let go of the existing model, for good reasons, being that it's about stewardship of the well-being and the future of the young, so it has to be taken very seriously, but bad reasons in terms of parochial organizational models, limited models of leadership, conservative attitudes, bureaucratic attitudes, and somehow the notion that experimentation, failure, the ability to assume risk have no place in an education establishment where as the record of innovation, generally speaking, is that you have to get back to beginner's mind and try things out and be willing to tolerate uncertainty and failure if you're going to make progress.
Now, you had just said something that was quite interesting of, the ability to get rid of what was already done, basically holding on to traditions. Are you seeing that both in the classroom and in the school, or are you maybe seeing more where the teachers are trying to move forward, but education is still kind of lagging behind?
So I think of teachers, by and large, as being the heroes of the innovation agenda in education, and I see the system and the culture, the reward system, the advancement system, even the professional development options as being some of the elements that maybe restrain or at least tamp down the natural desire of teachers to be of value to their students.
Well, if we look at the word professional development and we bring that into the world of innovation, are you seeing anything, whether it be here at ISTE or around the world, that is really innovative professional development? And if so, what is it?
Well, I'd like to say that there's a lot going on in that area, but in fact, as I scan the environment, there's little, if anything, that I would regard as being focused on two major agendas, which are near and dear to my heart. One is cultivating the ability to be an innovative thinker, and that is cognitive development. It's what happens in between your ears, but it's also about the ability to learn skills, then develop capacities, then achieve mastery. It's being on a journey of becoming an innovative thinker. And then the second is the ability to lead innovation, whether it's leading innovation in the classroom or leading innovation in terms of transforming the learning enterprise in your school or in your school district. So I think that one thing that I've been very focused on for the last almost 2 years since we last talked is to create professional development around bringing innovation, learning and innovation capacities, the ability to move from getting it to getting it done to teachers. Because if we're going to change education, district supervisors come and go, right? Students come and go, hopefully in a progressive direction. But teachers are really the bulwark of transformation. And I think there, from what I've seen, is a real hunger for a professional development experience that's going to give teachers the equipment and the ammunition they need to be agents of change. So that's the Edgemakers professional development experience, which is now launched.
Talk to us a little bit about Edgemakers. Where can we find more information?
Well, edgemakers.com is the right place to go. Edgemakers is basically focused on innovation learning for middle school and high school age students with also a higher education curriculum. We're A to G certified in California. We've just been approved by the Texas Board of Education. We're beginning to spread not just in the United States, but globally. We have efforts underway in Canada, Mexico, and China. And, this notion of innovation learning is not just an American invention or priority. It's a global priority. So Edgemakers.com is probably the best place to check it out. I also wrote a book some years ago called Innovation Nation, which was an attempt to look at how America's ability to innovate as a country was up for review, and how learning in the broad sense and attention to human capital issues were fundamental to our ability to continue to be successful as a leader in the innovation space. So that's kind of maybe the basic sciences around which the Edgemakers initiative got launched.
Now, here we are in Chicago for ISTE 18. If we look ahead to ISTE 19, with everything that you see going on in the classroom, if there was one, maybe two things that you could change to make us even more innovative, more in tune with what's going on, what would some of those key things be that you're just like, I got to change that one thing?
And when you say us, you mean the community of ISTE participants or?
Teachers, education in general. If you had the ability to turn the key and every classroom did one thing.
Well, I mean, obviously, from my own parochial point of view, I would wish that every classroom would have a meaningful learning experience around innovation in the broad sense of the ability to generate new ideas, develop them through disciplines like design thinking, storytelling, collaboration, and emotional intelligence cultivation, and then entrepreneurial skills, which is, in fact, the Edgemakers curriculum. I think at a more philosophical level, it would be to give teachers an opportunity to engage with one another as a community to an even deeper level. I mean, one of the ironies, I think, of ISTE is that, you have teachers sitting in rooms looking at the front of the room to a speaker who's sitting on a dais with a microphone and maybe some videos and, some PowerPoint. That's exactly the industrial model replica of a classroom.
You're absolutely right.
I think ISTE has done a phenomenal job of creating a community, but I would wish that there would be opportunities for teachers in small interactive groups to address the issue of transforming the wicked problem of education. ISTE is a great place to start that process, but now we have powerful social tools and collaborative tools, digital community supporting and project management tools that allow for the kind of collaboration that I think a lot of teachers are really hungry for.
So we know that teachers are hungry for great professional development, great professional learning. We also know that one of the key things about professional learning and bringing these experiences down to the kids is the idea of having authentic relationships, authentic opportunities. You happen to have a friend with you today. Can you introduce who's on mic number 2?
This is Desi Kao, who is my secret shopper. He's 13 years old, in between 7th and 8th grades. And I thought it would be useful to bring a perspective from the end user community to ISTE, because I don't see too many 13-year-olds here.
Desi, how are you today?
Great.
Are you having fun at ISTE?
Yes.
What are you seeing here? There's 20,000 educators all here to help guys just like you.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm seeing a lot of different booths with a lot of technology and things that are trying to help kids. But I'm also seeing, in like the second part of ISTE, technology for education, I'm mainly only seeing like the technology part and like seeing things like robots and stuff that are really interesting but not exactly helping with education.
And how does that make you feel that there's all these great things here, millions of dollars being spent, and here we have an 8th, 9th grader saying, I don't get it yet?
I mean, I think like it's really cool, but like a lot of the booths are really cool, but some of them are not exactly trying to help out. Like they're just trying to sell their products. Like I'm seeing like segues and stuff that don't really have to do with education.
You're not using segues in math class?
Yeah, no.
No? What are some of the things that you find interesting, or stuff maybe that you've done in the classroom that you're like, hey, that was really, really cool, let's try that again? What excites you?
Let's see, things like I saw Brain Pop, which is like this educational website, which is really helpful in class because it's little short videos that have a lot of information that help you learn, and you can take notes on them, and they have like a lot of different topics.
So here we are, 20,000 educators, and of course, all of them are going to be listening to this recording. Desi, if you had one message to send to all the decision makers here, what would it be?
I mean, I would say try and really go back to like the core message of education and try and stay on that topic, because I'm seeing like a lot of different things are kind of drifting away from that. But just always remember like how this is helping to educate kids.
Focus. It's amazing, right? All the kids want when it comes to education is focus on learning, focus on innovation, focus on what?
I mean, just focus on, just learning in general. Just make sure that the kids that are using like their product are just getting something out of it.
John, it's amazing with all the vendors downstairs, and I think there's like 4,000 of them. It really comes down to, is their product able to be used in the classroom? Even as much, do the students, like Desi here, want to use those products? What do you see both as an educator, as I know you do a lot of consulting, but most importantly, as a father, what do you see when you walk down that vendor booth?
I see a lot of glitter, and I see a lot of, Desi used the word gimmicks. I think he was a little too polite to use the word when he was speaking. Really, technology can be wonderful as an amplifier and as an enhancement to a core learning experience that has some authenticity. But to focus on the technology as an end in itself, I think is doing the learning experience a disservice. I think that we're in a capitalist society, so we understand that businesses have to sell a product and make a profit. But I think that what I'm missing overall, and this is not ISTE per se, this is American education, this is a worldwide race, really to redefine what is the ethos of education in the 21st century. How does it relate to the fact that we are, for the most part, no longer in an agrarian or an industrial model of society, and that the skills and capacities and wisdoms that we need to impart to young people are radically different from the past, and that the institution of education and the realities of the 21st century are divergent, and perhaps diverging even as we speak. So the notion that we have to converge around the notion of what is authentic education. What are our values? What are we trying to accomplish? Are we trying to fill people's heads with facts so we can give them tests, so we can give them scores, so we can plug them into the right kind of industrial employment model? Arguably not. And the thing that is really noticeable, I've been writing a little bit about this recently, is that there are so many pressures now for education as an institution and learning to diverge. This is the disintermediation phenomenon that killed off Borders and, Blockbuster Video. And not that education as an institution is going away, but it's got more and more competition of a very varied and kind of frenetic variety, as we're seeing on the exhibition floor here. So getting back to focusing on the fundamentals of what we wish education to accomplish, what the vision for education is, what the values are, and then what constitutes an authentic learning experience, that's fundamental.
Does competition bring out
quality improvement?
Right.
Well, I think that you're seeing a lot of you're seeing a lot of incremental innovation, which is burnishing an existing model, or better backpacks, or better desks, or better maker space elements. That's not really going to transform education. I do think that competition on a global level is quite interesting to look at. Finland, for instance, on a per capita basis, the cost structure of education is more favorable in Finland. They did it through reform of how the system treats teachers for the most part. China, which is now arguably as digital, if not more digital than the U.S. in many respects, and which has never lost its focus on Confucian values, is now this incredible petri dish for experimentation in education. So I think that there's global competition that's going to make us all smarter, and hopefully competition at the microeconomic and micro-industrial level will give us better products and services.
John, there's a lot of great stuff that's here. 20,000 educators all coming together to figure out how to get this right. I want to say thank you so much for your time. And Desi, I hope that we get a chance to catch up next year in Philadelphia. And of course, I want to say thank you one more time to John and Desi Kao for their time. It was great catching up with John and learning about not only his point of view, but also what Desi's point of view was on the educational landscape today when it comes to creativity and innovation. We want to know what you think out there. If you were at ISTE, tell us what you think. You can, of course, leave us a voice message over at teachercast.net/voicemail. We're looking to put together a show filled with testimonials, filled with on-the-floor thoughts, and just how did you guys think about the conference? We want to hear from you guys out there. And, of course, if you want to send us an email, you can do that so at feedback@teachercast.net. More great podcasts coming your way from ISTE, including Power School, Flipgrid, WeVideo, and many, many more from our friends at Microsoft and Lego Education. Stick around. We've got some great content coming your way. On behalf of everybody here in the TeacherCast Educational Network, my name is Jeff Bradbury, reminding you to keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.